Warren Buffett reads 500 pages every single day. Not 50, not 100, 500. That's an entire book every day for decades. And when people ask him about it, he points to a stack of papers on his desk and says, that's how knowledge works. It builds up like compound interest. But here's what most people miss. Buffett doesn't read 500 pages a day because he loves reading. He does it for a reason most people never figure out. And once you understand that reason, everything about how wealth actually gets built starts to make sense. Here's what people get wrong about this story. They hear Buffett reads 500 pages a day and they think, oh, he's just really disciplined. He must love books. That's impressive, but I could never do that, and they move on. But they're missing the point entirely. Buffett doesn't read because he's disciplined. He reads because he understands something about wealth that most people don't. And it's not about books. It's not about learning. It's about something way more important. See, most people think wealth comes from working hard, from grinding, from hustling, from being in the right place at the right time. And sure, those things help, but that's not how the ultra-wealthy actually build their fortunes. The ultra-wealthy build wealth through decisions, and the quality of your decisions is directly tied to how much you know. That's it. That's the whole game. Buffett reads 500 pages a day because every page he reads improves the decisions he makes, and better decisions compound into billions of dollars. Here's the truth about wealth at the highest levels. You can't outwork billionaires. You can't out-hustle them. You can't get luckier than them, but you can out-know them. And that's exactly what Buffett figured out early in his career. He realized that the person with the most knowledge wins. Not the most connections, not the most capital, not the best personality, the most knowledge. Because when you know more than everyone else in the room, you see opportunities they don't. You see risks they miss. You make moves they wouldn't even consider. And over time, those advantages compound into massive wealth. Think about it. Buffett doesn't have secret insider information. He doesn't have access to deals normal people can't get. He just knows more. He's read more annual reports, more biographies, more business case studies. He understands industries deeper than anyone else, and that knowledge lets him make better decisions. Not once, every single day, for 60 plus years. That's how you get to $100 billion. Here's where it gets interesting. Buffett doesn't just read 500 pages a day. He's been doing it for over 60 years. Let's do the math. 500 pages a day times 365 days a year for 60 years. That's 10,950,000 pages, nearly 11 million pages of information absorbed. Now think about what that does to your decision making. Every book you read gives you frameworks. Every article adds data points. Every annual report shows you patterns, and all of that compounds. The first 1,000 pages you read might teach you the basics of business. The next 10,000 pages show you how different industries work. The next 100,000 pages reveal patterns across decades. And by the time you've read 10 million pages, you see things nobody else can see. That's the real reason Buffett reads. Not to be smart, not to impress people, to compound his knowledge to the point where his decisions are better than everyone else's. And better decisions equals more wealth. It's that simple. Here's the problem. Most people stop learning the moment they graduate. They get a job, they learn the role, and then they coast for decades. They read maybe 1 or 2 books a year. They scroll social media instead of reading industry news. They watch TV instead of studying businesses, and they wonder why they're not getting ahead. Meanwhile, people like Buffett are reading 500 pages a day, every single day. While you're watching Netflix, Buffett's reading annual reports. While you're scrolling Instagram, he's studying industries. While you're complaining about the economy, he's learning how to profit from it. The gap isn't talent, it's not luck, it's not connections, it's knowledge. And most people stop acquiring it the moment they don't have to anymore. Buffett never stopped, and that's why he's worth $100 billion, while most people struggle to save $10,000. Here's something most people don't think about. You can't live multiple lifetimes. You get one shot, one career, one set of experiences. But you can read about thousands of lifetimes. When you read a biography, you absorb someone else's entire life in a few hours. When you read a business case study, you learn from someone else's mistakes without paying the cost. When you read history, you see patterns that took centuries to develop. Buffett has lived one lifetime, but he's learned from thousands. He's read about every major business success and failure of the last century. He's studied every economic cycle. He's absorbed lessons from people who've been dead for 100 years, and that gives him perspective nobody else has. When the market crashes, he's not panicking. He's seen this happen before. In books, in history, he knows what comes next. When everyone else is chasing trends, he's not distracted. He's read about every bubble in history. He knows how this ends. That's the power of reading. You don't have to make every mistake yourself. You can learn from everyone who came before you, and that knowledge becomes your edge. Here's the final piece that ties it all together. Most people trade time for money. They work an hour for their employer. They get paid an hour's wage. That's the game they're playing. Wealthy people play a different game. They trade time for knowledge, and then they use that knowledge to make better decisions, and those decisions make them money for decades. Buffett spends 5 to 6 hours a day reading. That's time he could be working, networking, closing deals, building businesses, but he doesn't. He reads because he knows that one insight from a book can be worth $10 million. One pattern he recognizes can save him from a $100 million mistake. One idea he picks up can lead to a $1 billion investment. That's the trade-off. Most people won't spend 5 hours reading because they don't see the immediate payoff. They want to do something, to feel productive, to see results today. But Buffett's playing a longer game. He's not optimizing for today. He's optimizing for the next 10,000 decisions he'll make over the next decade. And that's why he's the richest investor in history. Warren Buffett understands that knowledge compounds. Every page he reads improves every decision he makes. And better decisions, compounded over 60 years, create wealth that most people can't even imagine. You don't have to read 500 pages a day, but you should ask yourself, how much am I learning? How much knowledge am I compounding? How much better are my decisions today than they were last year? Because here's the truth. You can't outwork or out-hustle a billionaire, but you can outlearn them if you're willing to put in the time. Most people won't. They'll spend their lives consuming content that doesn't matter, being consumers instead of producers, watching things like brain rot that doesn't teach them anything, scrolling instead of learning, and they'll wonder why they're stuck. They'll wonder why their lives are mediocre. Buffett figured out decades ago that knowledge is the only edge that matters, and reading and learning and becoming a lifelong student is how you build it. Mr. Buffett has impressively read 500 pages a day, every day, for 60 years. The question is, how much are you willing to read today?